Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's annual meeting. We are just going to be waiting to make sure we have quorum today, which is 2.5% of our 734 folks who are members. So Amanda, do we have 18 people online?
Yes, we have reached way past that 18, so we're good to go
Okay,
forward.
beautiful. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So welcome, everybody. Just give me 1 second while I share my screen. Oh, can you stop sharing for a second, Amanda? Please. Thank you. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see that. Put it in full screen mode. So welcome again, everyone. I'd like to call today's meeting to order. Today, myself, Nirmala Vijayakumar, and Leslie Lee Kam will be chairing the annual meeting and special meeting today, of course, with some others chairing along the way, as we have different sections to talk about. I won't go into detail on the agenda right now because you all do have a link to it, and the links will be shared in the chat. So I do encourage folks to take a look at the agenda if they haven't. We won't take questions on the agenda right now. Once we get to that motion, we're happy to take questions or comments on the agenda. And just a reminder today that we are being live streamed on YouTube, so please do take that into account. We'll go over technologies, questions, and some other important procedural housekeeping items. So please hold on to your questions for the next few slides, and I'm sure we'll get to your answer. Today's meeting is quite long, 3 hours, so we really appreciate everyone taking the time to be with us today in this space. In saying that, we do have 2 wellness breaks, so we are being mindful of our time to end on time at 9 p.m., given how long our meetings are, and we want to ensure accessibility and everyone, has something to do probably after this or to get to bed. So thank you again, and I will now pass it to Leslie to take us through some of the accessibility features and harm reduction, etc. Over to you, Leslie.
Okay.
And maybe you need to turn your camera on. Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just having some technical difficulties. I'm using a laptop for the first time, so please bear with me. Okay, welcome everybody. As Nirmalan said, glad you can make it despite our snowy conditions. So we have ASL for this evening, and we have live captioning is also available. And just to make sure things run smoothly, again, as Nimalan said, we are respecting everybody's time. 3 hours is really long, so we are asking people to just be mindful that we will be moving things along. And there is the Q&A function for us to answer questions. In terms of using ASL, it's really important when people are speaking to speak very slowly and clearly. And if you require the service, please look for the interpreters who are spotlighted. And you may pin the interpreters to your screen at any time by bringing your computer mouse to the interpreter's Zoom box and select pin. If you have any problems, someone from Get Quorum will help you. You can put a question in the chat or a concern in the chat if you need help. So again, avoid speaking quickly. One person to speak at a time, please. And the interpreters are bound by a code of conduct and confidentiality, and they're also neutral. And please speak directly to the person who is deaf or hard of hearing. Please do not speak to the interpreter. In terms of harm reduction, if anyone here, because sometimes when we are speaking about some of these issues, you may be triggered. We're just asking if you're having an emotional response to tone of voice or how the meeting is going or the content. If you require any kind of harm reduction resources, you can visit the Ontario Harm Reduction Network. And if you just need someone to chat with, again, you can put your concern or a question in the chat. If you're struggling with your mental health, please use your phone to dial 988. And if you're aware of other resources that could be helpful, feel free to put them in the chat.
Thanks, Leslie. So now we will pass it along to Victor, who will deliver our land acknowledgement. Go ahead, Victor.
Good evening, everyone. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuits, and the Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by the Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty is signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. As settlers and as members of the LGBTQI+ community, this acknowledgement is a moment to pause and reflect on our relationship to the land where we live, work, and learn. It reminds us that this place carries deep histories of care, knowledge, and stewardship that long predates our presence. We also recognize that this land has welcomed many members of the LGBTQI+ community, a community that has long experienced marginalization, displacement, and rejection. And for this, we're deeply grateful.
Thank you, Victor. And now I will pass it to Viviana, who will provide our African ancestral acknowledgement. Go ahead, Viviana.
Sure, thank you, Norma. So we also would like to acknowledge and recognize that there's acknowledge and recognize the Treaty people, including those who came here settled as immigrants, either in this generation or in generation past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly forcibly displaced as Africans brought here as a result of the transatlantic trade slavery. We pay tribute to those ancestors of the African origin in the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Viviana. So now Leslie and I have the privilege of introducing a really special individual to both of us, Noretta, who's here today from Cross Lake Nation, Manitoba. And I'd like to ask Leslie if you wanted to say a few words to introduce Noretta.
Yes, welcome Noretta Jotswagen from
Hello.
Sorry. Oh, Noretta is speaking already. Go ahead, Noretta.
Okay,
Can you hear us? There you go. We can see you.
I can hear you. I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Over to you. Do you want to, sorry, maybe Leslie, do you want to redo the introduction? It may have been a audio cut.
Noretta, I'm just going to say how I met you quickly, just a quick introduction. So Noretta is a very strong ally of ours, is an Indigenous woman, a very proud Indigenous person, and Noretta started Pride on her reserve many years ago because a lot of young people were committing suicide because they were questioning their sexual orientation and their gender identity. And Noretta decided, in order to save lives, basically to save lives, that she would start Pride. And we are so honored and proud and happy to be a partner with Noretta now from her reserve. And Noretta has honored us with her presence to do the opening blessing for our AGM. Noretta, it's all yours.
Yes. Okay. And then at this point, I'll have my smudge kit out and like smudge on my end, and just thank everybody for the invite and pray in my language, and then try to translate the prayers as well as I can. And I'm just really honored to be part of this amazing group. You people are all lifesavers. This work is so important to me personally, and my eyes, my ears have all been so open just with listening to all of you talk. And I never ever thought in my life that I'd ever sit at a table or be invited to a table where there's so much intelligence, so much heart, so much kindness. It was just trying to get the kids to know that it's okay. That's all I wanted to do.
Thank you.
I didn't realize that it was such a global issue. I did not know how big it was, and I'm happy to learn from all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much, Noretta.
All right. You're welcome to stay with us today and listen in and say maybe something at the end if we should have time. But yeah, thank you again, Nareda. And
All right,
now,
thanks.
thank you. And now I'd like to do, I don't think we've done this in previous annual meetings, so we wanted to introduce our board. And just because of timing, we won't pass the camera to everybody, but I can start with introducing everybody. So everybody here knows Leslie Lee Kim, our co-chair, myself, Nirmalan Vijayakumar, co-chair, Maria Diaz, secretary, Mariana Moto, treasurer, Viviana Santabanes, officer at large, and Mal Budaraja, board member, Amber Yeri, board member, Burden Hudson, another board member, Carol Thames, board member as well, Gabriel Harquin, sorry, Gabriel, please correct me later, Troy Dunn, Victor Perez Amando, and of course our fearless leader, Kojo Modeste, who's now been here in 5+ years, Leslie,
Going
I think
on
on,
6 years.
yeah,
Going
so
on six.
setting a new record. So these are your board members. This is who's representing us at for Pride Toronto. And I just wanted to note that this past year we had the resignation of Grant Gonzalez and Osmel Guerrero Maines, who we thank for their leadership at the board level. And in terms of Grant, the board appointed Carol Thames. And in terms of Osmel, the board appointed Burden Hudson, and this was shared previously in various announcements that went to membership. And now I'd like it to pass it back to Leslie, who will just talk about some community guidelines and shared principles. Go ahead, Leslie.
Thanks, Nirmalan. So in terms of community guidelines, this would apply if we were in person and more so now that we're online. We're just asking, you can see the slide, that please be kind to each other and to be caring, to be respectful, to be compassionate. We all come from various backgrounds, and we're hoping to make this a safe and a brave space. We ask that folks not promote any of their goods or services. We have other avenues to do that to help you. And we just want to remind you again to be respectful in terms of your tone and the way that you are speaking to each other. And anyone going against these guidelines, unfortunately, we may ask you to leave. And just to say thank you so much for your time, especially at this time of the year, the end of the day. Thank you for your patience with us. And thank you for your understanding, because we have a very long agenda with a lot of business that we have to get through. So thank you again, and hope you learn a lot. If you need to step away at any time, self-care is really essential. Please do so. I've already asked for you to be respectful and kind. And, one of the things we are asking more now than ever, given what's happening in the world, is please listen with an open mind, because the world is so full of hate, especially towards folks like us. We're asking people to just be, thinking of what would you be doing if you were in somebody else's shoes? How would you want to be treated? And because we have so many items on the agenda, and there are a lot of folks here, I'm sure, who are curious about all the different items on the agenda, we're asking you to be as concise and as short as possible in order to let everyone have a voice. And please try to stay on topic. It's really important. Everybody has an opinion. I know I do. So if we could stay as focused as possible and to be respectful of people's times more so than ever. And there are going to be some tough questions. There's going to be criticisms. There are going to be remarks that some of us might not agree with. But, an open dialogue is always welcome. We are asking, please, not to be harassing or to be rude or to be unkind, and more so, please do not attack folks personally. So thanks again for your understanding.
Thank you, Leslie. So before we get into any sort of meeting procedures and things like that, we invite now Amanda from Gret Quorum to do a little technical overview. And Amanda, you can go ahead and take control.
Thank you so much. So welcome everyone. I just am going to let you know how the best way you can participate in today's meeting is that you are on the Google Chrome browser if you're on a computer, and if you're on a phone, a tablet, or an iPad, you should have the meeting open in the Zoom app. If you're having audio issues, you can try to refresh your browser to accept the prompts again. You can click on your audio settings on the bottom left-hand side of your screen and choose your speaker and microphone. Or you can also click on the Open in Zoom link at the top of your screen to rejoin the meeting through the Zoom app. If you're having issues, please send me a message in the chat and I will provide you with direct support. You will be able to participate in this meeting through the virtual hand raise. At the bottom of the screen, you should see that raise hand icon. And if you click on it, your virtual hand will be raised. You'll be using that to be a mover or seconder for a motion, or to ask questions during dedicated Q&A periods, which I will then send you a prompt to join as a panelist, so you have the opportunity to also turn on your video. If you do not want to share your video, you can decline and we can just unmute you at that time. We are going to be using our Get Quorum platform for voting, and so if you're on a computer or laptop, you will see the vote portal on the right-hand side of your screen, or you will see a small icon on the top right-hand side that you can click, which will open up your portal. Now that is specific to your membership, so please don't share your links with anyone else. But once the vote has begun, and I'm just going to put a test out there right now, you will see that vote icon flashing, and when you click on it, the vote will appear on your screen. If you're not seeing that on your sidebar of your Zoom screen, you will get to have an email that is sent out to you, or you can click on the link that you joined this meeting with and click on the link to go to the web browser page, where you will now see that portal page on the web browser. A test vote is happening right now. You should see that on your screen. Once you've made your selection, you would click the next button and it will ask you to confirm. And then once the vote has closed, I will provide results. So I'll let that run for a moment. Again, if you are having any difficulties at all, please send me a message either in the chat or the Q&A, and I will provide you with some further instructions. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. So we're okay to keep going then, right?
Yes,
keep going
absolutely.
with the slides? Okay,
Yeah.
let me reshare my screen. Okay, 1 second. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so here is getting down to the nitty and gritty. So in terms of meeting procedures today, we'll be following Robert's Rules of Orders. To move or second a motion, use the raise hand function. We will choose the first two people we see. Motions from the floor, i.e. new business, are out of order. Proposals to amend motions are allowed, but it requires a seconder and majority support. Raise the following queries by typing it into the Q&A box: a point of order, a procedural question or objection, point of information, or a point of privilege. Time is allotted today for questions and answers or to speak to an agenda item. Members are invited to ask questions. Either raise your hand or type in your question in the Q&A box. Questions submitted in the general chat will not be captured or answered. We will call on members in order of hands raised, 2 at a time, and interchange between those who raise their hand to speak and those that may come in through the Q&A box, where the questions are relevant for the entire membership to know the answer. Generally, questions will be read in order of submission until the time allotted to the agenda item ends. Today, we are asking members to only ask one question at a time. If written questions of a similar nature have been answered, we may skip those questions. Once all members have asked a question or have spoken to a matter, time permitting, we will permit another round of questions/speaking time. To ensure we end in a timely manner, members will have 1.5 minutes to ask a question or speak to a matter. Again, we'll try to answer as many questions as possible We're cognizant of time today. It's a 3-hour meeting, so we are mindful of everyone's time and want to end at a fair time. As always, feel free to reach out to the board at board@pridetoronto.com or membership@pridetoronto.com. Some other functionality in terms of the camera, mic, and chat functions. When you raise your hand and are recognized to speak, you'll be able to turn on your camera and microphone. We ask that you do turn on and be visible on camera when speaking. In terms of the question and answer chat box, members can type in their questions in the chat box. Questions that are relevant to the individual will receive a written response from a board or staff member. Questions that are relevant to all in attendance will be answered by the chair. Members can also raise procedural queries in the chat box. Those will be flagged to the chair accordingly. General chat, again, this is available to the members. While community guidelines must be adhered to, Pride Toronto will not be monitoring this chat, and members can use it at their own discretion. The chat administrator will also provide resources such as reminders, hyperlinks, accessibility features, etc. And to clarify it too, in terms of voting, so all votes today are confidential. There will be a number of options depending on the motion. So there will be an option for, you support the motion, you want the proposed action, you want this to pass, against, you oppose the motion, and this counts against approval. On certain votes, there is going to be a withhold option. So this does not count as a vote for or against. The Not-for-Profit Corporation Act contemplates the option to vote for or withhold rather than for or against in director elections and appointment of the auditor. So you'll see these options on those two items of business. There is no option to abstain. If you simply want to abstain, simply don't vote and skip the vote. So there will not be an abstain option. In terms of proxies today, several folks do have proxies. So all proxies that have been received on time have been tabulated. The proxy holder must be present at this meeting for the proxy vote to be included in the final vote count. Motions not included in the proxy will be based on how the proxy holder votes, i.e. 2 votes. So we're going to have to introduce the motions first, and then if people have questions about the meeting procedures, we can speak to that. But the first motion today is to appoint Carlos Torres, Sanjay Lewis, and Michelle Simon as note takers for the 2025 Pride Toronto annual and special meeting. Could I get a mover and seconder? So you can raise your hand again and I will see who's moved it and seconded. I think I see 2 hands. So I see Robert Chevalier as a mover and a seconder, Glenn Knight. So that's been recorded for the meeting minutes. Thank you. And we'll now go to Greg Quorum to do the vote on that motion, please.
Absolutely. And I saw a number of people that were able to vote on the test vote. That's wonderful. So that vote is now live again on the right-hand side of your screen. You should see the vote icon flashing. If you don't see an update, you can just toggle between the home and vote icons on that right panel to get it to refresh. And again, if you are not seeing it or you're on a mobile device, you can go to the email that you joined us or the email that says cast your vote. Once you have that web page open, you don't have to keep going back to the email. You can just stay on that browser and it will automatically update for you. We have about 1 minute and 20 seconds left. And again, if you're having any difficulties, please send a message in either the chat or Q&A so we can provide you with directions. Okay, just 20 more seconds and we'll have the results available for you. Okay, we're just waiting for those results to tabulate. We'll be sharing results in one moment. Thank you, everyone. We're just getting those results ready. Should be in just one moment. Okay, perfect. So sorry, we'll just refresh. So the motion to appoint, we had 81 votes in favor, 1 vote against, and 2 abstain.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. So the motion carries, and I'll reshare my screen again. And as we get through the motions, I think people hopefully will get accustomed, but please reach out to Amanda if you have any technical issues. So the next motion today is to appoint Get Quorum as scrutineers for all voting results at the 2025 Pride Toronto annual and special meeting. The options are for or against. And could I get a mover and seconder, please? Please use the raise hand. Mover, I saw Robert Chevalier, and seconder Shay Sanders. Thank you. So I will hand it over to you, Amanda, for the get quorum vote, please.
Absolutely. So that vote is now live. Again, if you're not seeing a refresh between the pages on your meeting portal page, you just have to toggle between the home and vote icon, and it will update for you. And so there's just about 50 seconds left. If you are having difficulties or you've just joined us and are looking for that vote option, please just send me a quick chat or Q&A so I can give you some instructions. Excellent. So that vote is now ending in 3, 2, 1, and tabulating results for you. Excellent. So I'm now going to share those results for the appointment of Get Quorum as scrutineers. We had 86 votes in favor, 0 against, and 4 abstain.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. So that motion does carry, and I will reshare my screen for the final one here. So the motion is to approve the meeting procedures regarding speaking time and to limit the number of speeches / questions per round, for or against. And I will ask for a mover and seconder. Please use the raise hand function. Glenn Knight is the mover and Gina Michael as the seconder. So if please do put your hands down. So before we do a vote on this one, is there any questions regarding the meeting procedures today? And Admiral Victor Osmel, do let me know if there's something relevant in the Q&A about the meeting procedures.
Yeah, I can. There's a question by Javier. The question is, before voting on the next item, point of clarification, before members vote on limiting speakers, can the chair confirm how many speakers will be permitted per side per round, and whether this will apply separately to the amendment and to the main proposal?
So it will be, so in terms of speakers, we'll be doing one round at a time. So we're going to be asking everyone who would like to ask a question. You can raise your hand and ask your question or provide your comment. You'll be only permitted to ask one question at this point. Once answered, we'll keep going through the list. And if at that point we've gone through all the members who wanted to ask a question or say a statement, then if time permits, we'll go to a second round of questions or comments. If in terms of amendments and things like that, once we get to that section, we can explain further in terms of speaking time. But yes, it would also apply to that amendments and the motion itself, the debates would be limited in that sense too, to speaking time and the number of rounds. Okay. So we had our mover and seconder. So now I will throw it back to you, Amanda, to do the vote on this one, please.
Thank you. That vote has now refreshed live. So please go ahead and cast your vote. Okay, there is 1 minute left for you to cast your vote. Make sure you hit that next button to confirm as well. Okay, and that vote is now closed. Excellent. I'm going to share the results now. For the motion to approve meeting procedures, we had 84 votes in favor, 5 against, and 2 abstain.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. So that motion does carry. Let's reshare my screen again. Okay. And now, Leslie, I'll ask you to present this motion, please. Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay, thanks, Nirmalan. So we have our next motion to approve this agenda of the annual and special meeting. And if you could cast your vote now.
So we're ask for a mover and a seconder.
Yeah, sorry, we need a mover and a seconder.
So the first person I see raise their hand is Fabian Downey, seconder Misha Vicar. And then Leslie, please ask if there's any questions on this one.
Yes, does anybody have a question about what's on the agenda?
So use the hand function, and Amal or Victor or Osmel, is there anything in the Q&A box? I'm hearing nothing and seeing nothing. So Leslie, you can get quorum to do the vote now.
Yes, Amanda, can you ask for the vote to be cast?
Yes, absolutely. That vote is
Thank
now
you.
live. Once again, just a reminder to hit that next button before you, so you can confirm. Okay, thank you. That vote is now closed. Perfect. I'm now going to share the results. For the motion to approve the agenda, we had 78 votes in favor, 3 against, and 6 abstain.
Thanks, Amanda. So Leslie, go ahead and let us know that the
Thank you,
vote
Amanda.
carried.
So the vote has been passed, and we're now going to pass over to the board secretary to chair the next section of the agenda. Maria?
Hi, Leslie. Thank you so much. So my name is Maria Diaz, as Leslie mentioned, and I will be introducing the motion to approve the minutes as amended of the meeting of the members held on January 30, 2025. And just before we go to the vote, I just wanted to mention that there was a correction on page 12 of the minutes. It currently reads as the result candidates elected for a 2-year term, but it was corrected and amended to say result candidates elected for a 3-year term. So has been amended on our end. And now I will call a mover and a seconder, please. Samson Shalasi and Glenn Knight. Can we launch the vote, Amanda, please?
Sorry, before we do the vote, Maria, just ask if there's any questions or comments on that. Yes.
My bad.
Thank you.
Are there any questions with respect to the minutes?
Again, Anmal, Victor, let us know if there's anything in the Q&A. I don't see any hands raised. Okay, I think we're good to go. Maria, you can call for the vote.
Thank you. Can we launch the vote, Amanda, please?
Absolutely. That vote is now live. And there's about 45 seconds for you to complete that vote. Thank you, everyone. That vote is now closed, and I will share results. For the approval of the amended minutes, we had 87 votes in favor, 2 against, and 5 abstain.
The motion carries. Over to Leslie and Milan for the next item on the agenda.
Great. Thank you, Maria. Let me just share my slides again. And while I'm waiting to share it, Kojo, why don't you start us off on the presentation of our update. So I'll throw it over to you, Kojo.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Nimelan and Leslie. So I will be speaking to one aspect of the annual report, again, just summarizing, because I know that folks would have had a chance to read, and Nimelan and Leslie will be taking on the other aspect of it. So I think one of the things that I think we're very proud of is our continued relationship building with Indigenous, Black, and other equity-seeking groups. We continue to work with Indigiquare, Two-Spirit people of the First Nation, and many other groups. We heard from you, and this is work that is continuing to happen within the organization. We're also very proud of our International Impact Fund. As legislations keep and growing against the 2S LGBTQ community, Pride Toronto is working with grassroots organizations across the globe to ensure that they're able to celebrate their queerness in a safe and respectful manner. Community Connect is another area that we're very proud of. You know, Pride is not just about celebrating downtown Church Street on the festival weekend, but we continue to grow our Community Connect, partnering with many communities like Toronto Community Housing, Taibu, you know, Jane and Finch area, and we're just growing and we're very proud of that work. We're also, our artist diversity is at a place that we're very proud of, with over 95% of our artists being local artists from Toronto, and over 98% of our artists being Canadian artists, with over 80% of those being BIPOC, and over 60 being gender diverse. This is the kind of stuff that we're very proud of in the work that we're doing here at Pride Toronto. Our community prides continue to grow. This year we added Newcomers Pride, which was a fabulous event for newcomers to celebrate. Volunteers, we could not do this without you. Over 700 volunteers volunteering hundreds of hours. This is the work that we do on a daily basis, and we continue to make Toronto, make Ontario, and make Canada a better place with our economic impact. And I'll just pass over back to Nimelan and Leslie.
Leslie, I'd let you start us off. Do you want to talk about our finances and funding and talk about sponsorships last year?
Sure. So as many people know, it was all over the media that because of the new way of living in the USA, unfortunately, even though we sit on top of them, it's trickling up to us. And there's been a decrease in our sponsorship. However, many Canadian sponsors stepped up, and we are very happy to have that kind of support. And we continue to get new sponsors that are Canadian based. And we are also ensuring that Pride, especially for us, given what's happening around Canada, around the world, our Pride is free. All of our events are free, and we work really hard to make that happen. I also want to just go back to what Kojo was pointing out about working with LGBTQI newcomers, especially from the African continent. We have a very high number of those folks who have joined our membership, and they're amazing in terms of the support that they're giving us. And it's really important for us to support them, not only at Pride, we provide support for them year round in as many ways as we can. And we are seeing a rise in legislation against us right here in Canada. 3 provinces have already come up with legislation that are anti-trans, and there are attacks from all levels of government. And people keep saying it's so much better in Canada. Well, we are fighting the good fight right here at home in Canada. And the number of faith groups are also getting together. They're even more cohesive in the way they're planning their attacks now. And there actually was a protest at Nathan Phillips Square just before Christmas, where now we have people right here in Canada who are against immigrants and refugees. It just reminded me of what's happening in the USA currently in a couple of the states, especially Minnesota. So we have to be very mindful of the fact that Pride, people keep saying to us, well, it's just this big party. If you were to join us, you would find out it's not just a big party. We are working behind the scenes. We are in touch globally, locally, nationally, provincially. We are working with all kinds of other rainbow identified groups to make sure through legislation that our safety is paramount. And we are looking at our pillars in our strategic plan to make sure that we are uplifting the folks we say that we are here to support and to improve and save lives.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. And just mindful of time, I'll reserve my comments, but I echo everything Kojo and Leslie also said. And, a big heartfelt thank you to our membership who've been there our volunteers. One of the things to signify is that we've had more small grassroots donations come in, so we appreciate everyone here for stepping up and donating those $5 to support us and keep us going. And thank you also to our wonderful staff who supported us and continue to support us. But we'll throw it over to questions for Kojo, our executive director, or the board, Leslie and I, that we can answer to. Of course, we will have our treasurer update after this if you have specifics about numbers. So if you want to raise your hand, feel free to, or use the Q&A function, please. Anmal, Victor, Osmel, do let us know if you see a relevant question for the group.
If you can't think of anything right now, feel free to put it in an email and send it to us.
All right. So I do not hear of any questions or comments, so that's great. We're back on schedule for now. So I will throw it over. I'll pass the chair along to our wonderful treasurer, Mariana Moto. Go ahead, Mariana.
Thank you, Nirmalan, and hi, everyone. So my name is Mariana Mota. My pronouns are she and her. I am part of the board of directors and the treasurer. We are now moving to the presentation of the audited financial statement, which is undertaken every year with the goal to inform Pride Toronto's financial performance and ensure accountability to the community. After the presentation, you have the opportunity to ask questions. We have with us presenting today the Crow Soberman team, Rachel Cairns, Manager, Audit and Advisory, and Raghu Rajaratnam, Partner in the Audit and Advisory team. Carter Holzman, Manager, Audit and Advisory, is also with the Crow Soberman team and with us today and may join Rachel and Raghu for the Q&A portion. Before we move to the presentation, a very quick note to thank the staff of Pride Toronto on behalf of the board for working diligently in support of this process. It takes a lot of their time. It is a very long process, and the board is aware of all the work they put into it. So huge thank you. With this, Rachel and team, welcome to our annual meeting, and please feel free to start your presentation.
Thanks, Mariana. Rachel, are you able to share?
Sharing right now. Let me know if we can see.
Yeah, it looks good. Good evening, everybody. Mariana, thanks for the introductions. I'm the engagement partner on the audit of Pride Toronto for the year ended July 31, 2025. Mariana introduced kind of Rachel and Carter, who are also here at the meeting. Tonight we'll present the audited financial statements. We're not going to go through in too much detail. It's really, we'll go through the audit report page and then the first 3 pages of the financial statements to get through some numbers, and then we'll close with some remarks. So we'll start with the audit report page. So it kind of outlines what our responsibilities are versus management responsibilities, and then our overall opinion of how the year went. In terms of on the audit side, the biggest thing for us is making sure the statements are materially correct. So we set materiality during our planning phase, and typical for not-for-profits, it's usually based as a percentage of expenses, because that's what the users of the financial statements are most concerned about, is how is the funding being used. And so we set this dollar threshold, and typically what it is what do we think, if the financial statements were off by this certain dollar threshold, would impact the decisions of users. And so that's the lens we use to do our testing. And so, we use statistical testing, and we do our best to focus on high risk areas and sample and test. An audit, although it goes down to evidence from paper trails and all of that, isn't meant to catch every single mistake or every single error. It's really just overall are the numbers materially accurate. And so that's basically what this piece outlines. Our audit opinion reads that, in our opinion, except for the possible effects of the matters described in the basis of qualified opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the organization as at July 31, 2025, and its results of operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profits. In short, it's really a clean opinion except for the two qualifications, which they were there last year as well. We'll touch on them briefly. And there's one new item this year, which is the emphasis of matter paragraph. I think, Rachel, we might be on to the next slide. So the first qualification, which is typical for lots of not-for-profits and charities that accept cash donations, is we qualify for the completeness of cash donations. Essentially, there's no way for us to know if, for example, someone made a cash donation and it hasn't made it to the books yet. So we qualify for that. And then the second qualification pertains to restricted grants, essentially, that took place before 2020. That was before we were appointed an auditor, and we were unable to do the audit procedures before that time period. The reason this still is here is because on the grant funding payable line of your financial statements, there are certain grants that are in there that were granted back in that period. And so they're still within their like audit period timeline. Some of them fall off in 2026, some of them fall off in 2027. So until that goes away, this qualification has remained. The primary change from last year's report is the emphasis of matter paragraph. You'll notice is new this year. It essentially is highlighting that Pride's had 2 straight years of losses where expenses have outpaced revenues. This, 2025's loss is less than 2024's loss. So there's been constraints on spending to kind of handle that reduced sponsorship. But overall, as of the year end, you'll notice on the financial statements that the liabilities exceed the assets. And so this doesn't mean that, Pride is going to shut down operations or anything. It just says there's enough uncertainty and Pride is reliant on major sponsors and the bank to be able to meet those liabilities as they become due. So with that, I'll pass it off to Rachel for a brief overview of the financial statement numbers.
Thanks, Raghu. So if you're following along, we're going to start with the statement of changes in net assets on page 5. So as Raghu just described, Pride Toronto ended fiscal 2025 in a negative net asset position, mainly due to the $555,000 loss recorded. And we'll start by going into this loss in more detail. On page 6, you'll find the statement of operations, and this is detailing the revenue and expense activity for the current year, July 31st, 2024, and for July 31st, 2025, and for July 31st, 2024. There were total revenues of approximately $6.6 million this year. The major streams continue to be sponsorships, government funding, and permit and fee revenue. At face value, sponsorship revenue did see the most significant decrease from 2024. However, we can look at this line in a bit more detail. Within the sponsorship revenue line, there are 1.6 million of in-kind contributions in 2025. And in the comparative figure, there are 2.7 million. This decrease in kind sponsorship accounts for the majority of the drop in this revenue line. So when you remove the in-kind contributions, the remaining decrease is approximately 130,000 in sponsorship revenue. And there is a breakdown of in-kind contributions in note 8 of the financial statements. For the expenses, the top 5 expenses were marketing, wages, festival infrastructure, artist fees, and event staffing and safety. These 5 accounted for 71% of the total 7.2 million expenditure this year. In summary, the organization was able to partially offset the $1.4 million revenue shortfall by reducing expenditure even further, which is why the loss in the current year is less than the loss in the prior year. The impact of this loss takes us back to page 5. The net assets are the financial resources the organization Pride Toronto has available to them to fund operations and activities. And given the consecutive losses and an overall net deficit position at July 31st, our auditing standards require us to evaluate the organization's position for at least 12 months from the financial statement date. Based on our analysis, we concluded Pride Toronto is dependent on the line of credit provided by its banker, but also dependent on the contributions from corporate sponsors, whose financial support is only estimated or projected at this time. Unfortunately, these are commitments from sponsors, and they're just commitments until the actual contributions are received, which typically happen much later in their fiscal year, around May and July. So that being said, like Regu mentioned earlier, our opinion is not modified in respect of this matter. And we want to highlight that we've spoken with management and they are taking proactive steps to ensure a stronger 2026 financial year and budgeting accordingly. We'll defer to the board to provide further details on this. Moving to page 4, you'll find the statement of financial position. This is the summary of Pride Toronto's assets and liabilities as at July 31st, 2025, and the comparative for July 31st, 2024. Total assets were approximately 1.2 million, including the cash balance of 5,000. Liabilities amounted to 1.4 million in 2025, including the short-term and long-term government funding payable. The short-term portion will refer to any amounts due within 1 year, and the long-term payable encompasses amounts due beyond July 31st, 2026. Lastly, the notes to the financial statements will begin on page 6, but there have been no significant changes to our disclosures this year. So we'd like to conclude and echo Mariana's notes about thanking Pride Toronto team for their strong efforts throughout the audit process, the time and the hours they've devoted to answering our questions, and their commitment to implementing our recommendations for stronger processes in place. That'll be the conclusion of our portion. Thank you for listening, and we'll open the floor up to any questions.
Thank you, Raghu and Rachel. Do we have any questions on the financial statement? Yes, Javier.
Hey, Javier, I'm just going to prompt you to be a panelist so you can share your video and ask your question. One moment.
Hello?
Go ahead. We see and hear you.
Yeah, you can see me? Great.
Yes.
Thank you. My question is, thank you for preparing this. And I think it's a lot to look through. But given the going concern note in the audited statements, I think that's something of focus to a lot of people in our community. And I'm noting that the financial statement is dated July 31st, 21-25. So can the board advise whether any significant post-sponsorship commitments or multi-year funding agreements have since been secured that affect Pride's current financial outlook?
Thank you for the question, Javier. I will ask the executive director to chime in and answer this question.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mariana, and thank you, Javier, for your question. Yes, we do have commitment, signed contract for just around $1.4 million in sponsorship. And we do have, again, as the auditor said, a lot of verbal commitments. And we know that verbal commitments are not worth the paper that it is written on. Because it's only a verbal commitment, but we trust that we will not see a repeat of what we saw last year. The other thing that we're also doing, just because as we're on that topic, in making sure that we're also be able to proper forecast, is that we're entering into multi-year agreements with contractors. Because what that allows us to do is better able to know what we should be looking at as it relates to our expenditure versus our income, and it's an ongoing thing that we're looking at. My directive to the development team is that as much multi-year agreements that you can bring forth, it really allows us to be able to forecast a lot better. And I'm happy to also report that the City of Toronto has last year signed a multi-year agreement with us. So we now have a 3-year commitment from the City of Toronto with an increase happening every year.
Okay, thank you.
So we're now moving to a question from Felix.
And Felix, if you want to go ahead and unmute, please. Oh, you just have to unmute again. Felix, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question? You can go ahead and unmute. So unfortunately, we're not hearing you. I'm not sure if your microphone device is not connected properly. I'll try and prompt you again. Sorry, Felix, you are unmuting, but we're not hearing you. If you would like to submit your question into the Q&A or chat, then the panel will address it.
And in the interest of time, while Felix is trying to do that, Mariana, I could answer the question in the chat from Anu.
Okay, perfect. So the question is, thank you for the presentation of the audited financial statements. Could you share some information about the context for the decrease in payments made to artists?
Yes, and I know because I know so many of our artists are members, I knew this question was going to come. So the reason for the decrease is that 2024, we received a federal grant that was very specific to paying international artists. And so as a result, we were able to increase our artist fees and bring in international artists. It was a tourism grant, and the belief that, the more international folks, it will draw international tourists. That grant was only for 2024, hence the reason you saw that decrease, because we did not have that grant for 2025 festival. Also, we also had a lot of in-kind. So for artist rider, flights and a lot of those pieces were covered through in-kind sponsorship.
Thank you, Kojo. So we have another question from Arthur. We only have, correct me if I'm wrong, but we only have 6 minutes left for this section, and that's to the appointment of the auditor. So we'll only be taking another question before we move on. Okay, perfect. So Arthur?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
In looking at the financials, you were speaking about the in-kind. Is that what's described under special projects in note 8? Is that our special projects in-kind contributions? I was noticing a big difference there between 2024 and 2025. Kojo, you're nodding.
Yes, so we 2024 we had a huge in-kind contribution that fell under special projects. We also had the Rainbow, the Hanlan's project, and we also have projects like we support through as a trustee to some organizations like Region Park Pride, and this also where we falls under our work with our Indigenous community. So yes, the mass decrease that you see is primarily because of over $800,000 in kind that we received last year that we did not receive this year.
From a single organization?
From a single organization, yes. That I was just about, yes. And this was, they were a sponsor, but usually they will also send products that we will include in our Community Connect program. And this year, they chose to set up on the footprint and do that distribution themselves. So the product went to the community, but they took a different approach.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thanks for the question. And being Cognizant of time, I will now thank Crow Soberman, not only for joining us today, but for I want to say 4 years of excellent service they have provided to Pride Toronto, providing meaningful support for the organization to be where it is today. So big thanks to the team. And we will now move to the second portion of this item, which is the appointment of a new auditing firm. After a competitive process, we are recommending today that Welch LLP be appointed as the new auditing firm for Pride Toronto. We have a motion for your approval today, but before we have it up on the screen, I will ask Umar Saad, partner with Welch, to introduce himself and provide a brief introduction to the firm. Umar, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Omar Said. I'm here with my colleague Kyunsu Yoon. We're pleased to be appointed the auditors of Pride Toronto. I'll just briefly go over a couple of these slides because I know we're pressed for time. A little bit about Welch. So the firm has been around for over 100 years, and we are 400 staff across Ontario and Quebec. Many people don't know us, but we are a mid-sized firm and we are a full-service firm. The next slide will show you the team. So it's myself, Kyun Soo, and Krista Casey, who's our NPO leader at the firm. We have quite a bit of experience in the NPO space, particularly 519 Community Center, AIDS Committee of Toronto, Dignity Network, Intersex Canada. So organizations very important to the community, similar to yourselves. So we're pleased to be working with organizations like yourself and excited to work with Pride Toronto. The next slide, just a little bit about our approach. So as I mentioned, we're a mid-sized firm. But we do provide a dedicated NPO team and direct partner access. That's kind of the advantage of working with a firm like ours. And then if we go to the next slide, there we are a full service firm. So while we have been appointed as auditors, as issues arise, things arise, we can provide any type of support Pride Toronto needs. And so that's the conclusion of this brief introduction to Welch, and we're happy to field any questions should you have them.
Thank you, Mar. Before we go to questions, we will go through the motion. So the motion before you today is to appoint Welch LLP as the auditor of the corporation to hold office until the close of the next annual meeting of the members at a remuneration to be fixed by the directors of the corporation, the directors being authorized to fix such remuneration. May I have a mover and a seconder? So Glenn Knight is the mover and Cecile Devine is the seconder. Do we have any questions? Okay, seeing none. So we will now open the voting period in Get Quorum.
Excellent, thank you. And now that vote is open. If you have joined us late, you can see that the meeting portal page is on the right-hand side of your screen. The vote icon should be flashing now that the vote is live. But if you're not seeing it on your screen, you can just go to the email that was just sent to you with the subject line, cast your vote. And then within that email is the blue link to go to your meeting portal. If you're having any issues, again, just please feel free to send me a message in chat or the Q&A. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. I do see a number of votes coming in, and there's 15 seconds before that vote ends. Excellent. I'm now going to share those results. So for the appointment of the auditors, we did have a vote of 83 votes in favor and 15 withhold. Sorry, 9 withhold, 1 abstain. I'm sorry. 83 votes in favor, 9 withhold, and 6 abstain.
Okay, perfect. So the motion is carried, and we look forward to working with Welch. And with this, I'll pass it over to the co-chairs.
Great, thanks, Mariana. So we've had you sitting glued to your screens for quite some time now. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. It is now 7:17, so we will be back at precisely 7:27. Thank you so much. Hydrate, eat, do what you need to do to take care of you. Okay, and we are back. So I just wanted to mention that we are seeing there are a lot of questions, and we know we keep talking about trying to be as efficient as possible with time so we don't keep you longer than necessary. So any questions that you have, because we are going to be doing different rounds of questions for different items on the agenda, if you could just please put your questions in the chat and we will get to them if time permits. So now I'm going to turn the chairing of the next section over to Gabriel and Viviana.
Sorry, just to clarify, Leslie, just everyone, please make sure not the chat box and the Q&A box, just so folks know
Oh,
we don't
sorry.
monitor. Thank you, no worries. But over to, whoops, switching the slide. Go ahead, Gabriel and Viviana.
Thank you, Leslie and Ermeline. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Gabriel, and I'm here with Viviana to chair this portion of the meeting. I'm going to begin with a brief overview of the recruitment process and tonight's election. Each fall, Pride Toronto conducts an open recruitment process for board positions. This year, we received 24 applications. All applications were reviewed, and 6 applicants were interviewed by the board selection committee, which is made up of current board members. As in past years, the recommended slate reflects the outcome of an open recruitment process and the organization's current governance needs. Following that process, the selection committee is recommending the following 4 nominees for re-election, all of whom are returning board members whose terms have concluded and who have put themselves forward through the recruitment process. Those are Nirmalan Vijayakumar, Leslie Lee Kam, Britton Hudson, and Troy Dunn. As you may know, earlier this month, we hosted a board candidate Q&A to give you, the members, the opportunity to hear directly from the nominees and ask questions. Thank you, everyone who joined us. Pride Toronto holds this session in advance of the AGM to ensure members have sufficient time to review candidate materials, engage with the nominees, and consider their vote. Members were also provided with the applicants' questionnaires. A recording of the session was also shared for those unable to attend. We'd like to remind everyone of Section 2.01.2, nomination for elections of the Pride Toronto bylaws. Any member may have their name added to the list of approved candidates if they provide in writing the support of at least 10 other members to the secretary at least 48 hours in advance of the election. For this AGM, no other candidates were received for this election. It's also important to note that once the proposed bylaw amendments are approved, Pride Toronto will proceed with the same recruitment process for the Indigenous board positions, for which we have received 5 applications. That process will move forward separately and in accordance with the bylaw framework. So for tonight's process, before we move to the vote, each candidate will first be given 30 seconds for opening remarks. Then we'll allow time for 2 questions to be asked of all candidates that were posed at the previous Q&A session. Time permitting, we will open the floor for any additional questions for tonight's candidates. Each question will be asked of all candidates. Questions should be no longer than 1.5 minutes. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond, and no follow-up questions will be permitted. This structure is intended to ensure fairness, clarity, and consistency for all candidates. So with that, we'll begin with the opening remarks in reverse order of first names. So first it will be Troy, then Nirmalan, Leslie, and finally Britt. So Troy, you may begin with your opening remarks.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending tonight. My name is Troy Dunn. My pronouns are he, him. I have been on the board for about 3 years at this point and been on a number of other boards in Canada. I am part of the community, obviously, but also have 4 kids. My daughters are 16 and 23, and my sons are 15 and 11. And so being a gay father has been something that's been very important to me. And I think the representation of families on the board, but also through Pride is really important. And then finally, also being the father of a queer daughter is something that I'm exceptionally proud of. And so also trying to set the foundation for the future community. So that's a little about me.
Thanks, Troy. Go ahead, Nirmalan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I'm excited to be here. It's been on the board now for 3 years. This is my first year as being co-chair, and it's been an exciting experience. I've learned so much, and I'm proud of what we've done. And some things, I want to look at is, how can we work more with Indigenous and Two-Spirited people? I think we do a great job, but there's always more we can learn. And this year, we're looking at our strategic pillars and our strategic plan. So again, looking at how we can work with the Indigenous community, Black communities even more. And, we talk about accessibility, and one of the things I'd like us to look at too is how we can work to make sure the festival is accessible for neurodivergent people, just even a little bit more. So that's what I'm looking at and what I'm excited for in the next few years to come. But thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, Gabriel.
Thanks, Nirmalan. Go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again. This is Robin, one of my many mobility devices. I've been with Pride for several years now, and many of you have seen me around in the community. And I'm celebrating my 50th year of being out and about and proud in Toronto and everywhere else in the world. I joined the board because I saw a need, and in terms of succession planning, that's why I'm running again. And it's really important for me to do intergenerational work, because at some point, all of you out there, if you're lucky, one day will be rainbow seniors. So I'm paving the way so things will be easier for you than they are for us right now. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Leslie. And finally, Britt.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Leslie, for paving the way. It's always great to be able to work in a board that is intergenerational, and thank you, Gabriel, for chairing. Yeah, my name is Britton Hudson. Pronouns are they, them, and I'm a community developer at heart. I hold a master's in theological studies and development. And I have the privilege of being able to work with queer, trans, and two-spirit nonprofits and charities and grassroots organizations from coast to coast to coast. And I've also had the tremendous opportunity to join the board, filling a vacancy over the past year. And one of the reasons I decided to submit my name for election was because I saw the deep impact that Pride makes, not only in the city of Toronto, but also globally. And I would love to be able to dig deeper into what that can look like as we continue to try and attempt to fill our mandate across the city.
All right, thanks, Britt. So we will actually move into the motion right before we do the Q&A. So this motion is to vote in the election of each of the candidates, Leslie Lee Kam, Nirmalan Vijayakumar, Britton Hudson, Troy Dunn, individually as directors of the corporation, to hold office until the close of the annual meeting of the members of the corporation held in 2029. This shall be a for or withhold vote. Can I have someone to move the motion?
So we have a mover from Glenn Knight and a seconder from Grant Gonzalez.
Great. Thanks so much, Amanda. Okay, so now we'll move into the Q&A portion. We will go in order of Britt, then Leslie, then Nirmalan, then Troy, and then I will reverse the order as we move forward. So the first question was from Nicholas W. The question is, given the issues surrounding moral panic, especially through the media, how will your position to actively oppose anti-trans legislation and misinformation to support the trans community? Specifically, do you believe that the effects of the serious trans issues in America will eventually come to Canada? So once again, it'll be Britt, Leslie, Nirmalan, and Troy. So Britt, over to you for the first answer.
Great question. I'll answer the bottom part of the question. So I actually don't believe that what's happening in America will eventually come into Canada, because we see how those policies and those practices that we see south of the border, how they've been alive and well in Canada for decades, and they've been very evident in the past couple of years. So how do we use our platform? I think as an organization, Pride Toronto is the largest Pride in Toronto. I know Kojo would have my head if I said the wrong stat. We're the largest Pride festival in North America, and one of the largest in the world. And we have a huge platform, and we've been using that platform. So I think our goal for this next couple of years is to dig deeper, to speak louder, and we've seen that. I think I was really pleased to attend some of the rallies and collaborations that we've been able to do over the past year with partners that are working across the city and across the province. And I think our goal would be to use our position to dig deeper and to speak louder for those that don't have a voice.
Thanks so much, Britt. Leslie, you're next for this answer, for this question.
Thanks, Gabriel, and thank you for that question. So yes, I agree with everything that Britt just said, and I would just like to add, we do have an anti-oppression advocacy committee on the board. We have a variety of board committees, and we are working with Momentum and other organizations in terms of fighting for the human rights of trans folks, especially given the legislation that has been passed here in Canada already. And it's part of our mandated Pride. So we do work in partnership with many organizations that are doing the work, and give them as much support as possible and voices, because we have that platform.
Thanks, Leslie. Nirmalan, you're next.
Thanks, Gabriel. Great question, and I totally agree with everything that's being said, from what we're seeing in Alberta to other provinces when it comes to anti-trans legislation, children who can't get gender-affirming care and the like. I'm proud to say that Pride, we're working with the trans community to the best of our abilities, and for sure we acknowledge there's always more work that can be done. One of the things I'm also proud of at Pride is that, we work with the international community, and I think that's something we can do a lot more on. Well, like, for example, we will work with the Eastern Caribbean. I forget their title. ECAD is their acronym. And, we work closely with them to also, on a global scale, advocate for trans rights. So I think for me, going forward, we have a great staff team, and I think we can do more advocacy, when it comes to getting to the politicians, being loud, being proud, being queer, being trans. So that's what I'm hoping to do, and thank you.
Thanks, Nirmalan. Troy?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'm going to answer the last part of the question first, around whether I believe that things that are happening in the US will come to Canada. I always like to lead my life with a level of concern, and I do worry that things that are happening in the US happen so quickly that, not that I worry will happen in Canada. I think what we need to do is be prepared. And there's no better organization to help prepare our community than Toronto Pride. And so I think, although it potentially wouldn't happen, we have to make sure that we do a really good job of protecting our community, and taking every opportunity to be an active voice to protect our trans community. These things happen very quickly in the US without a lot of notice. And in my opinion, we have to be the place that's a safe haven for this community. I also love what Kojo started the conversation with, around our increase in our trans performers as well, and making sure that we create space for the community, not just during Pride weekend, but throughout the year.
Thanks, Troy. So the second question came in from Apani D, and this question reads, how will you protect trans participants and performers from harassment, political backlash, or censorship? For this round, we will go Nirmalan, Troy, then Britt, and then Leslie. So Nirmalan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'm really proud to say that we have an open, transparent application process. We have a great operations team and an executive director who goes through that. But, safety and security is important to us. We have trans performers. We work with the trans committee who puts on their protest. So, we work closely in tandem with these folks, and, I totally agree that the safety of these groups is really important. We've done more relationship building, and, I'm proud to have learned a lot more from these communities. I'm someone who's a gay, queer, cis man. My experiences to what trans people was, a little unknown to me. And since being on Pride, I've learned more. I made new friends, met new colleagues who've told me about their experiences. And I think for me to get, a better understanding of that and to do what I can to make sure we put on a festival, a parade, a weekend, a month, all year round where it's safe for everybody and more so for, trans people, Black people, Indigenous folks, and so forth. Thank you.
Thanks, Nirmalan. Troy?
Yeah, thank you. I just to layer on some of the way I answered the last question, I think, we have done a really important job in making sure we have increased security at all of our events. Last year when we did have protesters, I think it's our responsibility as board members to shut that down. This happened to be a faith group that was there. And, I'm committing to whatever I can do, both personally, but and also as a board member, to ensure that we keep our trans community safe throughout all of the events that we have through Pride.
Thanks, Troy. Go ahead, Britt.
Yeah. First, I'd like to say that Pride Toronto is one of the few places that gives queer and trans, especially trans performers, the opportunity to perform. There's a lot of discrimination, and there's especially with what's happening across North America and across the West, where we're seeing this conservative backlash. Pride Toronto is still that space where we're not turning our back on trans, non-binary, and genderqueer individuals. And I think that's a really powerful statement in itself in giving those opportunities and not turning the tide just because it's not popular. And we can even see that within our own community where we have movements like the LGB, which intentionally leaves out trans and non-binary folks. So it's really important that we continue to uplift and give opportunity as best as we can. And we see that within our stats when it comes to artists and other performers that are participating. I think the other piece to it is that safety planning and also being in conversation with trans individuals who so they could share their stories and also share what the best practices can look like when it comes to responding to these challenges. So I'll stop there because it's a very leveled, very heavy question. But I think those are the two pieces that we want to continue to consider.
Thanks, Britt. Go ahead, Leslie, for this one.
Thanks, everybody. Folks have mentioned a lot of things that I would have said. I just want to add in terms of safety during the parade and during the festival, that we do have extra security that folks are not aware of. And that's the reason why we have security, not just for all of us, but because trans folks at higher risk, we have put in place that safety plan, as Britt has mentioned, and it's not something that we can make public, but I just want folks here to know that that's very high on our list of being aware. And we also educate in terms of when we are working with our sponsors and donors, and when we are out in the field, we're constantly educating folks. The other piece I want to add is around bathrooms, because I am being read as trans on a regular basis, even though I don't identify as being trans, I'm a dyke. But I'm well aware of the lack of safety for trans women, especially going into public bathrooms. So we are even in working with community groups, that's something else that we are using in terms of education for safety. And safety is paramount for us in everything that we do, but especially folks who need it more than others.
Thanks so much, Leslie. So we do have a question in the chat, so I will hand it over to Victor, who will be posing the question to the candidates. And in this round, we will have Leslie, then Britt, then Nirmalan, then Troy. Go ahead, Victor, with the question.
Okay, so the question says, thank you for doing the work governance. It's not easy. Could you please share your perspectives on how the Pride Toronto board can and should respond to community calls for Palestinian solidarity, such as the members' proposal?
Okay, I cannot speak on behalf of the board. I can only speak on behalf of myself as an individual board member. I am in solidarity with the folks in Palestine. I have joined various groups. I have been giving money. I have signed numerous petitions. And as an organization, we recognize the genocide that's happening. We have said this publicly in 2 of our statements already. But in terms of myself, I am doing my own personal work, working with a variety of community groups to support queer folks and all folks in Palestine who are suffering through this genocide.
Thanks, Leslie. Britt, you're next.
Yeah, definitely agree with what Leslie has shared. And I I am very similar in terms of the actions and the belief that it is a genocide what's happening. And I believe that as a board, as a membership, that there's a strong understanding of that. So what do we look when we're talking? The part of the question is like, how do you share your perspective on how Pride Toronto and should respond to those calls? I think the member proposal. I think we talked about this at the Q&A, and I think one of the pieces that is very important is consensus building. I don't think that the conversation is whether or not what's happening in Palestine is a genocide. I think that there's a clear understanding and there's a clear data that shows that. I think the approach is what do we do moving forward? And I know there's going to be more conversation that we'll share, but there are steps that Pride Toronto is doing to be a part of that conversation from a membership-based perspective. So not coming from the top down, but looking by being in conversation with one another and considering, and not just Palestinian solidarity, but looking at solidarity more broadly. We recognize that queer and trans people across the global south, especially folks within Africa and South America, are experiencing brutal violence. So how are we in solidarity from a global perspective that considers all of those injustices that are happening? And I think that's something has to be dealt with in consensus making, and through dialogue from a membership perspective.
Thanks so much, Britt. Nirmalan, you're next.
Thanks, Gabriel. Yeah, agreeing with what others have already said, but also saying, we are providing space for folks. We are, like Britt said, consensus building dialogue, and there is space today to talk about this. And I think that's what's also important about having these discussions is coming together, having a discussion dialogue. I like to remind myself that we are all volunteers. The board is made up of volunteers. Maybe I am speaking on my experiences over the last year of how I've felt being on the board of this happening. Like, the personal, like, I've been feeling not my best with all of these things happening and the amount of hate we get. And it's, I have to be honest, like sometimes the membership can be hard on us, which is fair, but also there's a point where that's passed, and it's been hard. I have my own personal beliefs. I agree. Yes, it is a genocide. I agree with all of those things. But for me, it's, how we are working at the board level on this and how we represent the organization. Yeah, like I said, the community forum we provide is how we go about this. Thanks.
Thanks, Nirmalan. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, I'm very aligned with what Britt said. This is, there's no question of the genocide. I think where personally my views are one piece of the equation, but also, how do we build a community where we can have these open conversations? And, over the last, particularly 2 years on the board, it has been a more challenging conversation. And what I hope to do is to be able to make this a back and forth conversation. I think, Nirmalan, you said it well. It has felt at times like we're in opposition with each other, when really I think we're seeking to understand each other and come up with a common view that may not be the view of everyone, but is the view that the board as a collective group has made. And we have put out 2 statements, as Leslie shared. And the difficult part, and you know this for any organization, when you put a statement out, it's never going to meet the needs of everyone and never meet everyone's expectations. And so we continue to work as a group to make sure that what we do put out speaks about how the organization feels, but also sets us up for an open conversation.
Great. Thanks so much, Troy, and to all the candidates. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we will now proceed to the motion. Once again, to vote in the election of each of the candidates present individually as directors of the corporation to hold office until the close of the annual meeting of the members of the corporation held in 2029. So with that, we'll move into the vote.
Sorry, thank you. So we are going to get started on that. As you will go through your meeting portal with the vote, you will see one person's name. You will cast your vote. When you hit next, it will go to the next candidate. So after you've done voting for the 4 individuals, then that will be done. So we've got just a few minutes on the clock for those. And I already see votes coming in quickly. Thank you, everyone. Excellent. So make sure you hit that next button so you can go through all those candidates. And we'll have results for you in just one moment.
Thanks, everyone. So it looks like the votes are in, and
sorry, I'll just go back just to confirm. For Leslie, we did have 93 votes in favor, 14 withhold, 1 abstain. For Nirmalan, we had 84 votes in favor, 16 withhold, and 1 abstain. For Britton Hudson, 85 votes in favor, 10 withhold, 3 abstain. And for Troy Dunn, 75 votes in favor, 17 withhold, and 3 abstain.
thanks so much, Amanda. And once again, thank you to the candidates, we can now sigh of relief. I know I've been there and you've been there before yourself, some of you. And again, thank you for the members for your questions and the candidates for your heartfelt responses. I will now pass it over to Maria for the next section of the AGM. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, Gabriel. Thank you so much. So the articles of amendment and bylaw amendments. The board of directors are proposing a number of changes to the bylaw. So the first one is the membership eligibility. The second is director residency. The third one is range of board size. And the fourth is Indigenous board members. So the first one is the membership eligibility, and currently the membership to the corporation is not limited based on member residency. This means anyone globally can become a Pride Toronto member, subject to meeting the criteria for membership. The proposed change is that the membership to the corporation or renewal of membership issued after the date of this meeting will be limited to those in the Greater Toronto Area. This means people that live in the city of Toronto, region of York, region of Durham, region of Peel, and region of Halton. As a result, if a member ceases to reside in the Greater Toronto Area, their membership will continue until their next renewal, but they will not be eligible for renewal at that time. Why the board is proposing this? Well, it ensures that members are engaged and have a vested interest in the Greater Toronto Area. And if I may, I would like to add a few more things on why we are proposing this change. We're proposing to limit voting membership to people who reside in the GTA, and how we're making sure this change protects our communities rather than excluding them. So right now, our membership model is too large, too dispersed, and too difficult to manage with our current capacity. As you all know, 2S LGBTQI anti-2S LGBTQ plus sentiment is growing around the world, especially in the United States, but also here in Canada. And this creates real risks for community organizations. So during the summer and the fall of last year, we conducted a jurisdictional scan. And what we saw is that many queer and allied organizations focus their membership on people who live in the region or have a direct connection to that community. By aligning membership with the GTA, we ensure decision-making rests with GTA residents who are directly connected to the community. We reduce opportunities for coordinated interference or bad faith infiltration while maintaining a manageable and accountable membership body that reflects the local population. So last week during the Q&A, there was a question about safeguards to protect marginalized communities. And I just want to reiterate that this change is not meant to exclude people who are precariously housed, disabled, or without immigration status, people living out temporarily outside the GTA, or have concerns about privacy. The board has had discussions on how our policies can be adjusted and would ensure that safeguards are in place so that people with real community ties are not pushed out. One of the things that we have been talking is, making it easy for people by just adding not additional barriers to the process, but having an attestation button to the membership application in which individuals confirm they reside in the GTA instead of requiring proof of residence. Non-GTA and international supporters will continue to have meaningful ways to be part of Pride Toronto through our programs, including our volunteer program. They will be able to subscribe to our newsletter, receive a letter of support for their refugee claims, and participate in all Pride Toronto activities. Our scans show that our current membership model is more open and therefore more exposed than most comparable organizations. For example, we saw that many organizations use various approaches to safeguard governance. Some limit membership to local residents, some others limit voting rights to local residents, and some use board-only membership models. So we are proposing a balanced path that keeps governance in the hands of GTA residents while remaining welcoming and accessible to all who participate in our programs and events. Again, this is a proposal. It's a strategic to ensure that Pride Toronto remains a strong, safe, community-led organization. And we have a vision of a Pride that is resilient, accountable to local to us LGBTQI communities, and open and welcoming to supporters from around the world. So next slide, please. So director residency. So currently directors or board members are now required to live within the Greater Toronto area during their term. The proposed change is that directors or board members will be required to live within the Greater Toronto area during their term. This means a director will have to live in the city of Toronto, region of York, region of Durham, region of Peel, or region of Halton. As a result, if a director ceases to reside in the Greater Toronto area, they will cease to be a director. Why we're doing this again is ensures that the organization is directed by directors who are, throughout their term, engaged and have a vested interest in the Greater Toronto area. Next slide, please. The final amendment is the proposed increase to the range of size of the board in the articles from 12 to 18, and to add Indigenous representation to the nomination process for directors. The intention is to add 2 seats to the board for a total of 14 directors, but a higher number has been included in the articles of amendments to 18 to allow flexibility in the future for further board expansions. The rationale behind this is, or why we're doing this is Pride Toronto signed a memorandum of understanding with Indigenous queers and Two-Spirited people of the First Nations. And as part of that MOU, it was agreed that additional representation will be provided to Indigenous persons at the board level. For the upcoming year, it is proposed that the board will undertake a process to recruit 2 new directors who identify as Indigenous peoples to these lands. Next slide, please.
Do you want to just, sorry, there's a little bit more about the process that you, sorry.
Oh,
We added that in,
sorry.
sorry. Thanks.
Under Section 24/7 of the Ontario Corporations, Non-for-Profit Corporations Act, the board can appoint additional directors between annual meetings who will hold office for a term expiring at the next annual meeting. At the next annual meeting, subject to the bylaw amendment being confirmed by the members at the meeting, the new requirements with respect to consideration of Indigenous representation in the nomination will apply.
Thank you.
So the motion I'm introducing is to approve the approval of the special resolution, the text of which is attached to the notice of meeting as a Schedule B, approving articles of amendments and empowering the directors to increase the size of the board. I'm going to introduce the other motion, and then I'm going to open it for discussion. So the other motion that we are approving today is the approval of the special resolution, the text of which is attached to the notice of meeting as Schedule C, confirming amendments to bylaw number 1. Can I get a mover and a seconder? So I have Fabian Donnie and Glenn Knight. And now we're going to open the floor for questions, discussion.
A reminder, you can use the raise your hand feature and you can be called up to the stage, or use the Q&A box and we'll address it if it's relevant for the entire group.
I think there's a question from Glenn Knight in the chat.
I can ask the question. Is this that anybody takes winter break out of the country for the wintertime cycle and they are parts of the Toronto area with with are able to be part of the membership slide.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question, Victor?
Yeah, I'm reading exactly what I'm
So Maria,
seeing.
sorry, Victor.
Yeah.
The question is, if somebody takes a winter break, but their primary resident is still in Toronto, will they be allowed to continue to be a member? And
Yes,
that's
so
summarizing what Glenn said.
No.
That is correct. So people who are residing temporarily outside the GTA, but their primary residence is still within the GTA, they will still be able to be members. Now I have another question here from Anu. I am confused about the bylaw amendment to change the board size. Is it going from 12 to 14 or going from 12 to 18? If going to 18, it is only 2 slots of Indigenous candidates. There is equity in governance research that shows that a higher number of people, e.g. more than 3 in a board of 15 from an underrepresented lived experience, is typically needed to ensure meaningful engagement and support. So just to address the question, and Kojo and Sophie can jump in as well on this. But what we're trying to do this time around is to increase the size of the board to 18 so that it allows for further expansion. So right now, the board is planning only to including 2 more seats. This means that we're only going to add 2 more seats that are reserved for Indigenous people, but in the bylaws will be changed, in the bylaws or the articles of amendment will be changed to 18, so that if Pride Toronto in the future wants to add more seats, they don't have to do the change again. Do you have anything else to add on this piece, Kojo? Or Sophie?
Maybe, can I add
Or
one
sorry,
thing?
yes, Nermalin?
So also just in terms of legalese, so Pride Toronto, we're a corporation, so we have what's called an Articles of Amendment, and that's a document we file with the government. And the way Pride Toronto has always operated under our Articles of Incorporation is that we've always provided a range. It's never been like a finite number. It's in the bylaw where we limit that. So just to provide clarity, like what Maria said, the range that we've always had, the range is increasing to 18, but the bylaw is being kept at 14. So that's kind of the legalese of it, 2 different documents.
Any more questions on the articles of amendments and bylaw amendments?
There is a hand raised. Are you taking questions from the floor?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to prompt you, Javier, to be a panelist, so you can also share your video. Wonderful. You can go ahead and unmute.
Is this working?
Yes, we see you. Go ahead.
Thank you. At the January 14th Q&A, I asked how many current members would be affected by this proposed GTA residency requirement. And I was told that if I followed it by email by yourself, that it would be provided in advance of the meeting. I did follow up and that information was not provided. And we're being asked now to vote on a bylaw change that restricts future voting eligibility without really knowing how many members this would affect. It could be 75% of us here. It could be 10% of us here. I understand that safety risks are also real and increasing, but no information has been provided showing that geography alone or people outside of the GTA correlate to greater risk. Without that evidence, this distinction feels arbitrary. And at the same time, the package changes expands the boards to 18 directors, which I think great. But if the board is increasing its authority while narrowing who can participate in member governance, that is a significant shift in how power is structured within Pride Toronto. And Pride Toronto regularly describes itself as, I think, the second largest Pride organization in the world, with national and international outreach. So many people outside the GTA contribute time, labor, care, expertise, and you're saying now they can just access emails and get access to lists, but not actually have a say in Pride Toronto. So I'm just raising these concerns so members can understand the scope of what they're being asked to decide, and that information has not been made available to us tonight to actually make informed consent on this decision. And I think if a jurisdictional scan was done, simply just looking at postal codes would have been sufficient to let us know how many members this would affect.
Thank you for your question, Javier, and I'm gonna let you answer the question, Kojo.
Thank you. And Javier, one of the things that I will ask is that when you give us the whole truth, okay, rather than giving us partial, yes, we did say we would look into providing that information. That request came 2 or 3 days ago. We have over 700 members, which is going to mean manually we have to go through all of the application. So I think it's very important that the membership understands that the process that has been used to register membership, and this predates me, so it's over 6 years, and I'm not sure how long we've been using the same system. We do not keep addresses. So it means that we will have to go through the individual application, and it was conveyed to Javier that in such a short notice, we do not have the resources to pull up exactly who is going to be impacted. However, it's something that we will look into in the very near future. So I just want to be very clear with that. In relation to the numbers, again, currently I think it's going to be a smaller number. It's not going to be a huge number. The other piece, Javier, how on earth, the notion that increasing the board complement to add in 2 Indigenous seats to make sure that Indigenous voices are being heard. And you see this as the board taking power. And I want to say to the membership that this is not the intent. The intent is to make sure that all voices, from when I started in this role in November 2020, the Indigenous community was one that was left out. But what is also very important for the membership to know that it goes beyond the 2. So we're having 2 designated seats. However, Indigenous members can apply to the other 12 seats. So hopefully that clarifies everything. And as executive director, I am committed to making sure that the number of people that will be impacted will be made public to the membership. I just cannot give a specific time because it means that I'm directing staff resources to go through all of the applications.
Thank you, Kojo, for the answer. And I'm going to see if there are any further questions with respect to the bylaw changes.
We do have another hand raise.
And there are 2 questions in the Q&A, if I can ask.
Do you want to go ahead, Victor?
Yeah, the first question says, how will Pride Toronto ensure that the board applicants who self-identify as Indigenous to these lands will indeed be actually Indigenous to these lands and not pretendians or other fraud people taking up these important research board positions?
Thank you very much for that question. And I will let Nirmalan or Leslie take over this one.
I'm happy to go for it. Or Leslie, do you want to? Yeah, okay, I can start. No, so thank you for the question. So as part of this process, we understand it's important to work with the Indigenous community. So like we said, we have a memorandum of understanding with the Gingiqueers and Two-Spirited People, the First Nations. So it will be a recruitment process in hand with these groups and other Indigenous groups in Takaranto. It's important that we understand there's various treaty holders to these lands. So it's also important that we have a full process that includes their in discussion, consultation, and identification with these folks. So it would be heavily led by the Indigenous folks. We would be involved as the board to make sure there's the understanding of, what are the requirements to be on the board in terms of commitment and, other things like that. But it's a process that, we will do together with that community.
Thanks, Nirmalan. And I just want to add, I have been working with COJO also very closely with both those organizations in terms of, when you say pretendians, I know that's out there right now, but we are getting directions from Indigiqueer and from Two-Spirited People of the First Nations and other community members that we have worked with in the past, Two-Spirit elders. So we are getting a lot of guidance on that piece.
Thank you, Leslie.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to
Sorry, Maria.
move to the.
Can we there was a clarification our legal representative, Sophie, wanted to give on the range. So Sophie, you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect.
Yes,
just wanted to clarify, so there's no confusion with respect to where the size of the board is set out, more of a technical point. So it's in the articles, as was stated, that the range of the board size is provided for. So currently the articles of Pride Toronto provide that you can have a board from 5 to 12 individuals. And then under the legislation, the members are able to set the number within that range. So right now, anything between 5 and 12, the board is currently at 12, so it's at the maximum size. So the articles of amendment that are being presented tonight are to increase that maximum number to up to 18. The proposal right now is that the board would increase to up to 14 to include these 2 additional spots that have been discussed, but the maximum number is being increased to 18 just to give flexibility so you don't have to amend your articles in the future if you want to expand further. Nirmalan had mentioned the number 14 being in the bylaw. The bylaw is being amended to contemplate the recruitment process for 2 additional directors, but in terms of setting the specific number of 14, that's actually just done by resolution. So tonight, the resolutions include the members authorizing the board to increase it up to 14 at this time. So just clarifying, 14 is not in the bylaw, but it is part of the resolution tonight. But in the future, it could be increased up to 18 without having to amend the articles further.
Thank you for the legalese.
Okay, so I'm going to turn to the question from Arthur.
Okay, perfect. Arthur, I'm just going to ask you to accept the prompt.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We
We
don't see
can.
you. If you want to turn on your video, you can as well. Go
I
ahead.
did. It's
There you
just
go.
coming on there. So I was hearing frustration with Javier's question about how this one resolution on membership is going to affect the existing relationship. And that really doesn't strike me as fair because from my understanding, these are motions being brought by the board. So I'm wondering why the board didn't investigate how this would impact existing membership. I think it certainly sounds well-intentioned. Having, run online meetings, I can appreciate the security vulnerabilities, but after that intention, wouldn't the first question be, how will this affect our existing membership? So is there a reason that the board didn't direct staff to investigate that?
Thank you for your question. And do you want to take this one, Nirmalan?
I can say, I was the board secretary the year before. So what we've seen increasingly, like as every time somebody applies, it comes to the board for approval. And what we've seen increasingly is applications from, we've also seen false applications coming through the process where we've had to find out later that somebody never applied and someone else applied for them. But what we've been increasingly seeing is, folks who are not from Toronto and who are, we're concerned for that security risk that we've heard about that, someone outside of the organization could theoretically direct the board, the organization to take one stance. But I hear your point about doing more further research and investigation. But it's in the belief of the 12 people on the board who have been seeing these applications that it is in the best interest of the organization. And the other thing too is that there are, like, for example, Hamilton was not included in this one because Hamilton already has a Pride infrastructure. And we really looked at this from the jurisdictional scan of what other Prides they're doing. Again, like Maria said, the 519, others have similar geographical restrictions. So what we are doing is putting ourselves in line with those organizations. And I would argue that other prides are some of them are a lot more restricted than us in terms of, you as an individual couldn't even be a member of Pride. It's rather organizations can only be part of their prides. So we think, again, as the board, that this is in the best interest of the membership, but we take your point and suggestion. Thanks.
Kojo.
So I am committing to between 6 to 8 weeks. Again, because of the number of applications we're going to have to go through to provide a report back to the membership in terms of the number of people that will be impacted, and those individuals will be receiving letters. They will continue to be members up until the term runs out. So folks will know way in advance, and a report will be submitted to the membership, but I'm asking for time between 6 to 8 weeks because we have to go into archives to pull up all of the applications. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to take a final question from Grant Gonzalez.
Sorry, one moment. Grant, I'm just going to prompt you to join the panel.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Full disclosure, I am former board co-chair. I am no longer on the board, so I have not been part of these discussions. Just a comment, not a question, but more of a comment to the members. I think this is an important, fair, and balanced amendment. I too, when I was on the board, saw a lot of applications from well outside of the municipalities, which we primarily represent as an organization. And it's also a matter of fairness, especially when we consider, other prides. Do we want Torontonians to dictate what happens in Northern Ontario or in Alberta and vice versa? Our movement, I think, is strongest when we are also representing ourselves in our own communities, because we know our communities better than someone from Alberta and vice versa. So I think this strikes a level of fairness. It's not just the city of Toronto, it's York, Durham, Peel, Halton. So it's quite expensive. And I think, with this focus, I would hope that, we can continue to build on a membership that is relevant, that is even more committed to participation in our processes, whether it's the AGM, whether it's volunteering, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to say that and say that I support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grant. So I am going to read the motion again, and then we're going to launch the vote. If you can help me with yes, thank you very much. And we're doing it separate, correct, Normally?
Yeah.
We're doing the motions.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm introducing the motion of the approval of the special resolution, the text of which is attached to the notice of meeting, Schedule B, approving the articles of amendment and empowering the directors to increase the size of the board. Can we launch the vote, please?
And while folks are doing that, I'm also just going to show the schedule. So this is the first one, the articles of incorporation. This is like the legalese document.
Just to be clear, we're just doing the articles vote. The
Yes.
bylaw will be next. Okay.
Yes, please.
So that vote has started. Go ahead, please cast your votes. Excellent. That vote is now closing in 3, 2, 1. And I'll share the results in just one moment. Okay, including proxy votes, we had 85 votes in favor, 11 against, and 2 abstain.
Okay, so the motion carries. Let's go to the next one, please.
Sorry, let me reshare my screen. 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the second motion we're introducing is the approval of the special resolution, the text of which is attached to the notice of meeting as Schedule C, confirming amendments to bylaw number 1. Let's
Thank
launch the
you.
vote.
And if I can, sorry, let me also share the actual thing. If I can get to it. Sorry.
Okay, I've started that vote now.
Okay, and it's also on the screen. So this is bylaw number 1A.
Wonderful. There's 25 seconds left for you to complete that vote. Make sure you hit the next button to confirm. And that vote is closing in 3, 2, 1. Okay, on the screen we have for votes in favor, including advanced proxies, 92 votes, and against 16.
Thank you. The motion carries. And I'm gonna turn it over to Leslie for the break announcement.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your patience with us so we could get through all of this necessary business and for understanding all the legalese. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. It is 8:31. We will be back at 8:36 p.m. Hydrate, bathroom, food, whatever you need to do. Thank you. We still have 1 minute. Oh, well, no, Nirmalan is back. So Nirmalan will probably leave.
I think, are we at the 5-minute mark, Leslie?
CB. Yes, yes, we
Okay.
are.
You don't even remember. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
it's Carol here. Are we back in the meeting?
Yes, we are, Carol. Just mute yourself, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. We're back in the meeting today. Amanda, do you actually mind promoting Javier to the panelist so he can do his part two as well?
Absolutely.
And while you're doing that, I'll just go to the slides.
Javier, can you just raise your virtual hand so I know who to promote? Thank you.
Sorry, is Javier there now? Is they a panelist? Sorry.
Sorry, Javier, you are on the panel, so if you want to go ahead and unmute.
Are you there, Javier? Just want to Q&A or audio check. We don't hear you if you're trying to say something.
It seems like something's not connecting. One moment, I'm going to try something else.
Okay, thank you.
Did that resolve
Yes.
things?
Yes, we hear
thank
you. Okay, welcome, Javier.
Is there like double audio, or is it?
No, you're okay. No, I'm okay.
I'm seeing two Javiers.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
but-
seeing two.
Yeah, but we're only hearing the one. I'm not sure what it's happening there, but go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Javier. Okay, so I'll introduce in terms of procedure and things like that, and Javier's will do a little provide a little introduction too. But before we get to that, so just for everyone's awareness, under the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act, members are entitled to do a member proposal at an annual meeting or a special meeting. We're in the special meeting portion of today's meeting. And Javier has submitted a member's proposal in time and has met all of the requirements. So Javier, I'm going to ask that technically we have to introduce your motions and then do a mover and seconder and then do the statements and questions and answers. Is that okay with you that we kind of just introduce the two things and then we get the mover and seconder?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to start with the
amendment.
clarifying amendment.
Okay, go for it. It's on the screen.
Yeah, so just for folks to know that this is a clarifying amendment. It actually doesn't change the purpose of the proposal. It simply clarifies implementation, timing, and scope so that members know exactly what a yes vote would direct Pride Toronto to do and what it would not do. So I just want to be very clear for members, voting for this amendment is not a vote for the member proposal itself. This vote is about making the wording clear so that when we discuss the member proposal next, everyone knows exactly what they're agreeing to or not agreeing to. Pride Toronto is already governed by law and by its existing contractual obligations. So this amendment simply addresses some of the concerns that the board raised about contracts and fiduciary obligations. So it makes it really clear there. So there's clarity for members and for the board. And it does one narrow practical and tactical thing. It confirms that the ethical sponsorship and partnership policy would be implemented after the policy is developed and adopted, and that nothing in the proposal is retroactive or requires Pride to breach existing contractual obligations. So, for example, we heard earlier today that Pride Toronto has signed multi-year agreements. This clarifying amendment allows Pride Toronto to phase this responsibly and ensure that it meets its contractual obligations. And that clarity matters because it removes confusion and keeps the decision in the right place. Members deciding whether they want Pride to develop a public, enforceable policy that is accountable to its members and to implement it responsibly and transparently. So we'll discuss the substance of the proposal.
Yeah, let's
later,
let's move it and second it, and then we can.
I just want to move this member proposal for the amendment. And again, if you don't know how you're going to vote for the proposal, that doesn't matter. This is about clarifying to ensure it does not breach any contracts and that it's looking forward and that it can be phased in responsibly. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Javier. So I'm going to ask, so we're going to, basically the movers and the seconders will be the same for the amendment and the motion as amendment. So I'm going to ask for a mover and seconder. Again, just please raise your hand so we can call on you. I assume, Javier, you want to move it? Do you want to move?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to ask a seconder.
I'll move it.
So again, just raise your hand. Let me just go to the participant. So the seconder I have is Glenn Knight to second the amendment and the motion as amendment. So again, I'll go back to the motion, but Javier will have an opportunity, 1.5 minutes, a minute and a half, to make an opening statement. Maria on the board will provide the board statement, and then members are permitted to ask questions to either the board or to Javier. Either that can be a question or a statement. Again, we're being mindful of time, so I will throw it over to you, Javier, to start us off.
Can you just clarify for me, am I making a statement on the amendment itself
No, you can just make a
or on
statement, the whole
the
thing.
proposal?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to be honest. I know some members are nervous speaking here today or showing up at all. And I think about the conditions of participation that determine who can speak safely and who can't. And I know this because I had the opportunity to reach out to 750 members and spoke with dozens and dozens of them that were actually fearful of showing up today. And I'm naming that because if members feel fear or risk in a Pride governance meeting, that really tells us something about the conditions of safety and belonging at our Pride. I want to begin by acknowledging the many people, community members, and groups who've carried this proposal and this demand for more than 2 years. Two-Spirit people, especially Black, Indigenous, Palestinian, Arab, Jewish, racialized, disabled, and working class queer and trans people. These are communities who don't show up only in governance spaces, but they've been organizing, grieving, resisting, and calling to action in our cities and in our streets for over 27 months as genocide against Palestinians continues. We've heard some statements, but queer Palestinians are not asking for statements. They've asked specifically Pride organizations for material solidarity. I'm going to ask for a little more time because I speak a little slowly and it's hard to sometimes come up with words, and I hope that you'll allow me that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Queer Palestinians are asking Pride organizations worldwide to draw a clear line that our bodies, our identities, and our Pride platforms should not be used to launder the reputations of corporations and institutions complicit in apartheid, militarism, and genocide. That's what this proposal asks Pride to do. It's principled and it's practical. It directs Pride to develop a public, enforceable, ethical sponsorship participation policy with a 30-day member consultation period, so these decisions are transparent and accountable to members, not made by closed doors or shaped by sponsor pressure. I want to be clear about what this does and doesn't do. It does not cancel existing contracts. It does not target individuals. It does not shut Pride down. It ensures that our identities, our platforms, and our communities are not used to legitimize institutions that profit from violence and dispossession. Pride already makes political choices every year through sponsorship. The issue isn't whether Pride is political, it already is. The issue is who these choices are accountable to. And so I want to say this plainly, this question isn't, can we afford to lose any money? It's, can we afford to keep taking it? Pride was built through resistance and rebellion, not corporate dollars. Our queer ancestors did not fight and are continuing to fight for liberation, so our movements could become branding opportunities for institutions complicit in
Just
state
a
violence.
30-second warning. Thanks.
I think I can do 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Queer liberation is inseparable from Palestinian liberation or all other liberation. It's never been detached from struggles against colonialism, racism, state violence. Pride, including Pride Toronto, has always been a site of struggle and solidarity. Tonight is about whether Pride Toronto will align with its practices, with its stated values, with courage, clarity, solidarity, and accountability to its members. This isn't my proposal. This was signed by hundreds and hundreds of former members, current members, and endorsing organizations. And it's taken over 2 years just to get here. I urge you to vote for this member proposal. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Javier. And sorry, I just should have clarified too with everyone that the two votes, the amendment and the motion to amend, will happen at the end. So just because of timing, and we want to make sure everyone has a chance to say something if they'd like. So I'm just going to throw it to Maria, who will provide the board's statement. Please go ahead, Maria.
Thank you. The board support open and respectful discussions at members' meetings of issues that concerns the activities or affairs of Pride Toronto, including sponsorship arrangements. The board and management are happy to have discussions with members and other interested individuals and groups regarding such matters. It is important that policies and practices implemented by Pride are specific to and in the best interest of the organization. This includes Pride's financial position and ability to achieve its purposes, which include holding an annual cultural festival to increase the public's understanding and appreciation of two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, transgender, intersex, queer, and questioning persons. In order to support the festival, which is Canada's largest festival and the second largest Pride festival in the world, with over 3 million attendees, Pride, a not-for-profit organization, enters agreements and other sponsorship arrangements. We take steps to ensure that sponsorship align with its values, and in particular, Pride is currently taking a number of steps to review its operations. Ernst & Young is being brought on to support us on a pro bono basis to complete the sponsorship review and speak with community. Pride has a sponsorship policy, including a screening and evaluation process that must be adhered before accepting funds. Pride has also a Pride Parade participant policy, including mechanisms for a member of the public to object to any group's participation. This will go through a third-party community review. It is the board's position that these steps, on which we welcome feedback, are a more appropriate way to review sponsorships and address concerns than the means proposed in the member proposal. We also want to correct the statement which was provided in the member's communication. Specifically, it said, when the board decides behind closed doors, they are vulnerable to pressure, lobbying, and change with each new board iteration. To correct that, directors legally have the responsibility to manage or supervise the management of the activities and affairs of the corporation. In carrying out these responsibilities, directors have legal duties, including act honestly and in good faith with a view to the best interest of the corporation, and B, exercise the care, diligence, and skill that a reasonably prudent person would exercise in comparable circumstances. The director duties include avoiding conflict of interest. They also include confidentiality. This ensures that decisions are made with full information through open and fulsome discussions at the board table. Directors have liability for their decisions. Members do not legally have these duties or liability. With all that in mind, we're happy to take questions, comments, but we urge members to vote against the member proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. We are at 8:50, but we are okay for the next few minutes. I'll just ask, we're opening it to questions or people who would like to speak to this. Again, we're asking everyone to be respectful here, including respectful to everyone on the board, including Javier. So please be mindful of how you present yourself or ask your question. Thank you. So if there's a hand raised, you can go, so I see Anu first. Go ahead, Anu. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, Amanda will bring you up to the stage.
Yes, thanks. Anu, I'm just going to prompt you.
And then it'll be a minute and a half you'll be able to speak to. And for others, just please make sure you're using the Q&A function if you want to use that, or oh, sorry, Anu's hand went down, or maybe we'll just double check.
I'm gonna speak aloud, but because it's live streaming, I'm not gonna put my camera on.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to ask some questions and also share some comments. I'm saying this from the perspective of someone who worked at Pride Toronto, has been a curator since 2011, and has had numerous conversations with artists and audience members, in particular around Palestinian solidarity, including in the last year where we had a presence both within the Pride festival site and off of it for Brownout, which is a South Asian community program. And I also want to kind of ground this in a recognition of the numerous conversations that I've had with arts-based organizations in the city, including another one that I was on the board at until earlier in the fall, which has supported the Palestinian campaign for the academic and cultural boycott of Israel, along with many other theater organizations. I just want to say that this is an opportunity for Pride to demonstrate leadership in a sector that has been I would say maybe
So just
sometimes.
30-second warning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. An opportunity for Pride to demonstrate leadership like it has over its history in lots of different ways. Sometimes it happens initially, sometimes that leadership comes after some community response and correction. I worked at Pride when Kwaya was first banned, so I want to give that context. And I would encourage our members to say, this is an opportunity for us to think about what does governance look like when you have meaningful engagement with the membership. This is simply asking for a policy. Let's keep having those conversations. Let's talk about it in a transparent way, and let's actually put some action in a way that can inspire other prides, both around so-called Canada, but
Okay.
around the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Anu.
Thanks.
And now we'll call on Arthur. Go ahead, Arthur. Or Amanda will bring you to the stage.
Okay, Arthur, just prompting you. You can go ahead and turn your microphone on. Go ahead.
Hi there. Yeah, I would like to speak in support of the motion. We heard earlier this in the meeting our board members who are up for re-election calling what's going on in Palestine a genocide. And so I think then we are all called to take action, to go beyond words. This is a call that's coming from within the community. And while Pride Toronto does many things, sort of the biggest thing is a big party. And I don't think, I'll speak for myself, I don't want partying here in Toronto to be made possible from money made by committing that genocide. I think this motion is about ensuring that that's the reality. And given your shared positions and given my own position, I am completely in support of it. And I urge other members to vote in support so that we're going beyond words and into action. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Arthur. So it is 8:55, and there are other people who do want to speak, so we do have to be mindful of the end time. So we will have to call a motion for the extension of the meeting time. And this was scheduled for 30 minutes, and we did go a little over, but I'll bring it up on screen, and Amanda, if you can prepare it.
Absolutely. And just for those who have your hands raised, I'm going to lower them so we can do the motion, but feel free afterwards if we're continuing with Q&A to put your hand back up.
So the motion would be to extend the the annual and special meeting by 5 minutes, ending at 9:15 p.m. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that if they'd like the meeting to extend? If they don't want the meeting to be extended, then we would have to defer this matter. So the first person I see who's raised their hand is Fabian, and the second person being Martin. Amanda, could you please do the vote?
Absolutely. Sorry. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so I've just launched that vote. You can go ahead and cast your vote. If you have been promoted to a panelist during editing point in this meeting and you've lost that icon to vote, you just have to go to your email where it shows you that you can click on the box to vote in your meeting portal. So you haven't lost the opportunity to vote. Zoom is just messed up your screen. So
Thanks, Amanda.
yeah. Okay, there's about 12 seconds left for you to continue your vote. Make sure you hit the next button to confirm. Thank you. That vote has now closed, and I will just get our results. Sorry, we're just calculating those results. Okay, I will now share those results. We had 62 in favor, 26 against, and 1 abstain.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. So we'll just go back to that speaking order. So the motion carried to extend the meeting by 15 minutes to 9:15. So please again raise your hands if you would like to speak to this one or the Q&A. I think we had in the Q&A. I'll go to the Q&A next. Victor, did you want to read something in the Q&A, please?
Yes. Someone asked, as someone who is involved in both the queer and Jewish communities, I've seen policies like this used by other pride organizations to exclude and discriminate against queer Jews and Jewish synagogues and community organizations for having cultural or family connections to Israel. How will adopting this policy ensure queer Jews and Jewish organizations are not excluded from participating in Toronto Pride?
I think Javier, I think that one's directed at you. Would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the important question. So the policy is grounded in BDS and PACB, and they both specifically target institutional complicity, not individuals. So they draw a clear line. No individual is boycotted for identity, citizenship, race, or affiliation. It's whether an institution or corporation is on the BDS or PACB lists, and whether Pride Toronto is offering them a significant platform. The proposal does not target Jewish people or Jewish identity. And also, I would say that BDS and PACB are global human rights movements that explicitly reject all forms of racism, including anti-Semitism. And of course, Jewish communities are not monolithic. We see hundreds of Jews have supported this proposal through multiple Jewish organizations, but this proposal is grounded in a politics of solidarity. It doesn't treat Jewish identity as a proxy for political position or responsibility. This is about institutions that are complicit in war crimes and genocide. Thank you for that important question.
Thanks, Xavier. Excuse me. On attendees, I see Fabian. Go ahead, Fabian. Amanda, they're on this to be put up to the panelist.
Absolutely. I've just prompted you, Fabian, if you could go ahead. Okay, I'm just going to prompt you to unmute then. So Fabian, you do have your hand raised. I'm prompting you to unmute so you can ask your question or make a comment. If you no longer have a comment, okay, I see you put your hand down. Thank you. So Fabian put their hand down, no question.
Okay, thank you. So I think Kate Aquilar, go ahead, Kate.
Okay, Kate, I am prompting you if you want to join the panel to turn on your video. Go ahead and unmute and go ahead, Kate.
Hello.
Hi,
Could
go ahead.
you hear me? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Hello, my name is Kate. I'm a trans Latina woman, an immigrant and refugee in Canada. I'm a member of Pride Toronto, and I'm speaking against this motion. Let's be clear. Pride Toronto is not just a Pride. It's an organization that provides safety, visibility, and access for people who are pushed to the margin everywhere else. This motion does not challenge corporations. It's attack capacity. And when you attack capacity, you attack marginalized people first. Limiting Pride Toronto funding means fewer programs, fewer safe space, fewer paid opportunities, and fewer protections. That really will fall harder on trans people, racialist members, immigrants, refugees, and people with the least power in this room. If you believe others, then answer this clearly. Who is replacing the money this motion take away? Who is guaranteeing that trans people still have space, leadership, and safety? Who is accountable when programs are good and community are excluded? Because slogans don't pay for accessibility. Principles don't found security. And good intention do not create inclusion. If you remove funding without a replacement plan, you're choosing symbols over the people. If you say this plainly, I'm not willing to sacrifice my community for a political statement. If this motion pays, the harm will not be theoretical. It will be immediate, and it will be felt by people like me. For that reason, I urge every member here to vote against this motion.
Thank you, Kate. We're just at time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Kojo, I'll see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nemelin. And I rise in to speak against this motion as Executive Director for Pride Toronto. I want to say that I am confident in the processes that we have in selecting our sponsors. Many of our sponsors continue to show up not just for Pride Toronto, but for the queer community from coast to coast to coast. And the relationship that we build with many of our sponsors are built to support our community. This motion does not speak to us moving forward. Rather, it is moving us backwards. The support that we get from sponsors, as the speaker before me said, allows us to do the job that we do. This is not just about a party, but this is about our community showing up. The many artists that we pay. I also want to say that we're currently putting systems in place, as was said by Maria, to ensure that members have a voice. And with the consultation that will be happening, you will get to be part of this. So I urge every member on this call to vote against this motion.
Okay. Thank you, Kojo. I see we're coming to time, so I'm going to be asking maybe one or two more people, and then we will have to call the question. But Behan, go ahead. And
Okay,
sorry, Amanda will bring you to the stage. Yeah.
Yes, I've just prompted you, and Behan will be here to unmute in just one moment. Fantastic. Oh, Behan, go ahead and share your video as well. I see you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry. I think you can hear me, right? I can't see myself.
Yeah,
you're good.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to the kind of point around decisions being made without member consultation because directors carry legal duties and liabilities while members do not. So yes, directors do hold fiduciary responsibilities. And I think that this distinction doesn't justify excluding members from meaningful participation in decisions that shape the organization's values, direction, and legitimacy. And so if it is the case that corporations are like free and clear of any unethical conduct, then I don't see how this motion threatens that. Further, responsibility and vulnerability are not opposites. Directors operate within a political, relational, and reputational context, and legal liability is as much a perceived pressure as it is a formal one. So excluding members does not remove these pressures, it concentrates them. Democratic organizations also recognize that members hold responsibilities of a different kind. So while we do not have fiduciary responsibility, we do carry collective responsibility.
Just 20 seconds left. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For the organization's mandate, we also carry ethical considerations. And so consultation and share enables shared accountability. And lastly, this is not an unprecedented move. Many Pride organizations in Canada have already adopted ethical sponsorship standards, including internationally with PACB and BDS. And so this is not something that we are asking for as an exception, but more an alignment with broader movements toward ethical and democratic governance. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And the last one, Leslie, go ahead, and then we will go to the motion. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I am going to approach this from a different point of view. I am living on Indigenous land. I've been living in Canada now for 55 years. And we had Noretta who did the opening blessing for us at the beginning of our annual meeting. And I find it really interesting the amount of energy and time that's gone into prides being challenged and prides being held accountable and the genocides that we are talking about. We are living on Indigenous land where genocide is still happening. The reason why Noretta is with us is because kids were committing suicide and still are. Serpent River, it's the same thing is happening. Kasashuan. On these reserves, there is no drinking water. I'm trying to get to the basics here. When I see this kind of thing happening, yes, I feel for folks that are suffering in Palestine, in the Congo, in Sudan, the genocides. In all my years of living here, and I'm celebrating my 50th year of being out in this country, I have never seen this kind of solidarity to support Two-Spirit and Indigenous people. And this is coming from me personally, and the work that we are doing at Pride, we are looking at solidarity and what does that mean here on the land where we are living. And that is what I would like us to be talking about first, and making partnerships and making connections. So because Noretta is not here, and because all these Two-Spirit and Indigenous people are not here, I am their voice. And I'm saying, if you want to put energy and time into these kinds of building solidarity, we need to start right here on Indigenous land and supporting Two-Spirit and Indigenous people to even get clean drinking water. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. So I see no other folks. So what I will be going to do now is there will be two votes. We have to vote on the amendment itself that Javier is doing. And then after the amendment, then we vote on the motion as amended. So I'm going to say it again. So the proposal right now is the approval of the amendment for or against, and I will show it on the screen again. So right now we are just approving this clause, which is the removal of this clause number 4 and putting in this new clause number 4. So Amanda, we already have our mover and our seconder, so we just need to go to you for the vote, please, Amanda.
Wonderful. I'm starting that vote now. And as we mentioned, this is just the proposal to amend, not the actual amendment.
Yes.
Thank you. Excellent. Many votes are coming in. I appreciate it. There's about 40 seconds left before we end that vote. Excellent. And that vote is ending in 3, 2, 1. I'll have our results in just one moment.
I know we are also at 9:15. After this one, it's just 2 more votes on the amendment and then to adjourn the meeting. So please bear with us. Thank you. Any luck yet, Amanda?
One moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sharing results now. For approving the proposed motion, amending the proposed motion, it's 54 in favor and 47 against.
Okay, so the amendment passes, and now we vote on the actual proposal. Sorry, let me share my screen again. Whoops, where did that go? Here we go. So the motion is to the approval of the motion contained in the member proposal attached to the notice of meeting as Schedule D as amended, and that's for or against, and this is what we're voting on today. Again, it's for or against. So Amanda, go ahead and you can do the voting, please.
Okay, that vote is now live.
Again, thank you to everyone. A few more minutes and we will be almost done. Thank you.
And just 45 seconds for you to cast your vote, and we will have results right away. Perfect. So that vote is now ending in 3, 2, 1. And so we have 77 against, 24 in favor, and 1 abstain.
So the motion does not carry. So thank you, Amanda. And we will now go to the final. Let me share my slide. And I'll go to the last slide for today. So today now the motion here is to adjourn the meeting. So to adjourn the 2025 annual and special meeting, for or against, could I get a mover?
Sorry, Nimmerlin, before we, if the elder who opened, just gotta give them 30 seconds to close, and Noretta
I think Noretta already stepped away. That's why. I think she stepped away. Is she back?
Oh, I think
she's back. She's back.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Go ahead,
back.
Noretta.
Oh my goodness. I honestly, I really have to apologize. I thought this was the pre-meeting. I didn't know this was the actual meeting.
All good. No worries.
I was, yeah, my phone almost died, but I'm back at the apartment. It's been charged, but I just got asa niki nanas ko mon kagina kinotes ginanas ko mon gipagosele mo kasi man to kasawen ni mi kwek sunyawa mina si penita mon abasagi wewen kikisewat sino kapits tagas kitayek tatos katamek. I've taken, is my video on? Can you see me?
Yes, we see you.
Yes. Okay. I've prayed that just from listening earlier on, that there was a deficit of so much money from last year's Pride. I prayed that Toronto Pride will be blessed with money, that you and each and every one of you be blessed with si Penny Tamoin means perseverance. Gisewat with the kindness that is needed to do this kind of work and the strength and the courage to keep going. These are the prayers that have gone into the stage that I'm going to light for all of you. The sage comes from North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and this tobacco that I'm going to use also comes from that Marshall from New Zealand. Is she from New Zealand, Leslie?
Yeah.
Louisa, yes.
Louisa, yeah.
Louisa, yeah, she gave me this, so I'm going to use it in today's prayer. So I'm going to light it and just pray with me. And I pray for you, all of you, that the work you're doing is great. Nikiskeni tenene ko kay tatak. I understand the heaviness of it just from the little place that I do it at. And your platform is so huge. It's no wonder it takes all of you to carry everything. Thank you. Because the work you're doing is in all kindness, the Creator will bless all of you, your work, your hearts, your homes, your minds, your hearts, your spirits. Adam,
Son.
I have my son coming to light it. He's ready with the yeah.
Like about
Oh my God, oh my God. I
It's okay.
apologize. I'm
That's all
so
good.
sorry.
Don't worry.
no more apologies. We're
Oh
just
my
happy
God.
to have you with us.
Yeah,
Do you have water yet, Noretta? Has
No,
water come?
not yet. Not
Still,
yet.
this is what I want people to know. Noretta is
Oh my
there in
God.
front of us with no water. Please, when you're thinking about solidarity and this kind of work, think about people like Noretta and other reserves where there's no water, no heat. Sewage is backing up. Kids are killing themselves, committing suicide.
That's good, baby. Thank
And
you.
we need to start right here in Canada supporting Two-Spirit and Indigenous people first.
Yeah, I really like that. I wanted to say thank you to the people who sent money. I'm in the city right now, so I will be taking as many boxes of wipes as I can back home. Thank you to all the people who sent me money. Nermalyn, Leslie, Susan. I think there's a lady named Lauren. There was 5 or 6 of you that sent money for our people. Thank you so much. Your kindness will not go unnoticed. We've already had one shipment of wipes from Toronto Pride, and I'm going to be taking another home. So thank you. Ekumote. Yeah, so this is for you. Kino mote.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much,
Thank you so
Noretta.
much. Yes, you're welcome. I'll see you
We'll
guys
see you
real
soon.
soon.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Noretta. And so now we'll just go to the meeting adjournment to adjourn the 2025 annual and special meeting. Sorry, and could I get a mover and seconder, please? Just raise your hands. Glenn Knight moves, Cabron McLean seconds. Go ahead with the get quorum vote, please, Amanda.
That vote is live. Go ahead. Excellent. There's about 25 seconds left for that, and then we'll get the results to you right away. And I will say thank you on behalf of Get Quorum for allowing us to participate in another successful AGM this year.
Thanks, Amanda. I feel like we need the drumming, though, Jeopardy music.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you
Yes,
to
maybe we'll do that. Do your closing remarks. Sorry, Leslie. while we're
Thank
doing
you to the ASL interpreters. Thanks to the team, the staff team, Get Quorum, Sophie, everybody who has been here tonight, the board members who chaired, the staff who are behind the scenes. Kojo, thank you to all the members who made the time on this very cold evening to be here. And a final thank you to Noretta. I hope you get water soon and heat.
Thank you. Amanda. This is what we're all waiting for.
I know. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Okay, I'm going to share my results.
This sage and this tobacco will go outside to finish burning.
Oh,
and
amazing.
and then the prayers will be put down by a tree or on the ground somewhere.
Thank you.
Offered in prayer.
Thank you. I can confirm our vote for adjournment, 67 in favor and 6 against.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone. The motion carries. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye,
See you next time.
Thank you. Night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.